Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another podcast. I'm yours truly, Marcus. This is the Blue Stable Podcast. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We are here to give you the preview, which is the Indianapolis Colts and the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City will be traveling to Indianapolis for this game. This should be a good matchup. What we got ahead of us, Patrick Mahomes going up against Daniel Jones. This should be one of the good matchups for the Colts. Definitely a good test for them coming off of a bye week. This is a game that they need. Honestly, this should be super important. They got to be locked in. You know, the Chiefs are fighting for a playoff spot here, so they have everything on the line here to try to win this game and try to go on a good win streak to try to push for the playoffs. Their percentage to make the playoffs are lowering by the week. It gets lower and lower the more they lose, but. This is definitely a weird season for the Chiefs. You know, they haven't been on the favorable side of football. They're still trying to find their way. And, with Andy Reid as your head coach and Mahomes as your quarterback, you are never really down and out. So I would never count them out of, making that playoff push. This is a good dynasty. They're used to having that winning culture, having that winning environment, especially for the past few years. This team has definitely been one of the best teams in the NFL for multiple seasons. And, this is one of the examples that the Colts will want to take from the Chiefs. They're on the bright side of football right now. One of the hottest teams in the league, one of the best teams in the league. So winning over the Kansas City Chiefs would definitely do a morale boost. It'll do something for the Colts, and it'll definitely feel like they'll be unbeatable if they do beat this team. So going into this matchup, just to give an overview of how the Colts looked going into the bye week, coming off of it, I would say the first half of the season, they played exceptional football from both sides of the field. Starting on the offensive side, you would look at Daniel Jones as the overview of the Colts offense. He's just played phenomenal football. Top five in passing yards. His completion percentage is pretty solid. And this is something that you have not expected from Daniel Jones going into the season for the Colts. As an honest opinion, a lot of people were 50-50 on this decision, announcing him as the starting QB, just due to his stint in Minnesota. There was a lot of believers, though. We will mention that there were a lot of believers in Daniel Jones going into the season, just due to his playoff push in New York and the success that he had over multiple seasons. Like I said, it was just more due to the time and place. Going to Indianapolis was a dream come true for Daniel Jones. Honestly, I mean, he just got matched up with a great team and a great roster, a great locker room. The environment is competitive. They're all a family here. That's team oriented. They're all focused on winning and playing football. And that's what you would want to have and go to as a dream destination. A lot of people, they say in history that, Shane Steichen scouted him coming out of college. And now they're both on the same team. And these guys are like a dynamic duo. Week in and week out, you hear stories about them watching film over the week, just staying locked in and poised, trying to see what they can do better overnight. And that's what you would love to hear coming out of the quarterback room as your quarterback in general. Of course, there's a lot at stake this season, especially going to the offseason to see if they're going to extend Daniel Jones. He's on a one-year deal, pretty much a proven deal, and I think he proved it. I think he proved a lot, and, a lot of Colts fans wouldn't be opposed to bringing him back next year, running it back. But, that's up to Daniel Jones as well. But he's definitely made his mark here in Indianapolis. I know a lot of Colts fans are in love with Daniel Jones and how he's been playing football so far. It's been a long time since we've seen success at the quarterback position. And, Daniel Jones has just fit right in with the Shane Steichen scheme. His scheme fits Daniel Jones, and he's that type of quarterback that you want to have out there. He's not the fastest, doesn't have the strongest arm, but he gets the job done, reads the defenses, and he's been playing exceptional football. Of course, he made a lot of mistakes over the last few weeks, but he's definitely grown from it as well, learned from his mistakes, and still finds a way to win. And that says a lot about your quarterback going into, coming from the bye week, going into this week to play against the Kansas City Chiefs. You're going to have to be locked in. And as for the offense going into the bye week, coming out of it to play Kansas City, I would say the first half of the year has been one of the best years to be a Colts fan to watch this offense. This is an offense that you have not expected, honestly. Of course, we all knew Jonathan Taylor's one of the best running backs in the league. We knew that for a long time coming. But he just unleashed and just hit another level this year that we have not seen before. in MVP conversations. You love to hear that. He's definitely the best running back in football, and he should be in consideration of winning the MVP. It's no questions about it. He's just been playing exceptional football. Now, of course, having him in the backfield with Daniel Jones just make Daniel Jones' life so much easier. All you got to do is pretty much hand the ball, and it's been showing. That's just been the recipe for success. And you got to give credit where credit is due for the offensive line as well. Their protection and their lanes for the run game blocking wise has been phenomenal. So the offensive line took a huge step up this year. There was a little bit of questions going into the season when you look at the offensive line with the losses of Ryan Kelly and Will Fries, but the offensive line, they made a lot of replacements, and they stepped up to the plate. With Bordelini being out there, he's been playing exceptional football, and the rest of the crew, Bernard Ryman's been playing exceptional football. Braden Smith's been playing exceptional football. Quentin Nelson's himself. But the offensive line, like I said, has been one of the best lines in football. Of course, they had a few hiccups this year, but that's going to come with the game, week in and week out. But I've said overall, in general, going into the bye week, they've been having a very good season, and that's what you love to see. Pass protection could be a little bit better, but I would say the run blocking has definitely been their cup of tea. They've been playing good football, so you got to give a shout out to them. Transitioning to the defensive side, going into this week, coming from the bye, the Colts defense has been looking way better than what we expected. Definitely Lou Anarumo, got to give credit where credit is due. He's drawn up a perfect scheme for this defense, and he has the pieces, and he's just been a mastermind all year. Even though there's been a lot of hiccups with the pass rush, they found a way to pretty much hide, the pass rush not really getting back there and getting a lot of sacks that we expected, but they still have good pressure. They still can put pressure on opposing teams, so you got to look at it a glass half full. Of course, they can be better, but they've still been playing exceptional football as a whole. Lou Anarumo is just a mastermind of drawing up schemes, trying to pretty much cover up the hiccups on the defensive side. Like I said, Zaire Franklin has been having a good year. DeForest has been himself. Even though we need him right now, he's out with injury. He's been having an exceptional season. Grover Stewart's been having a good year. I would give Latu. He's been having himself a solid season. Adesumbe Warrior, he stepped up to the plate with DeForest Buckner being out. So you got to give credit with him. The cornerback room definitely gets most of the flowers. With them being banged up all year, they still have been playing really good football, playing poise. And like I said, Lou Anarumo drawing up the screens with a lot of blitzes as disguises. These guys are pretty much more in man coverage, and they've been playing really good football despite all the injuries. And the addition of Sauce Gardner just puts a cherry on top of the cake. So, like I said, this DB room is looking pretty solid. Safety room has been pretty good as well. They got a big task coming out this bye week, going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, who pretty much have a very good hot offense, as we already know it, pretty much a lot of speed. The offensive line for the Chiefs has been a little iffy, so you're looking to see if the defensive line can create some pressure and force Mahomes to make some crazy passes. Even though that's not your ideal situation, just due to Mahomes being himself, he loves to make plays happen out of nothing. So keeping him contained will be the biggest question mark or to-do list for this defense going into this matchup, because you do not want to give Mahomes a chance to make something happen out of nothing. And that's pretty much been one of their Achilles heels for the Colts defense. A lot of quarterbacks being able to move out of the pocket and make plays happen out of nothing at the last second, and then just push your defense on an island. So, hopefully Lou Anarumo, he's familiar with this Chiefs team. He knows what they got to do. He pretty much did what he had to do. Well, he was a coordinator in Cincinnati against this team, so I'm sure he's going to be locked in for this week's matchup. When you look at the injury report for this week, you got Jalen Carley's returning from injury, which is good. Ibukam looks like he's good to go. Anthony Gould is finally back. He's going to be back on special teams, in which we miss dearly. He's been having a phenomenal season in special teams. Daniel Jones is limited with a calf strain, but he might be good to go for sure. We all know how much grit he has. We're going to need him for sure. Tyquan Lewis looks like he's back. Kenny Moore is back for sure. We knew that already. Grover Stewart didn't practice. He's just resting. And Mooney Ward looked like he's going to be available to play. So we finally get to see Sauce Gardner and Mooney Ward at the same time in that DB room. And this is definitely the matchup we need both of these guys going up against Mahomes in this offense. So it's going to be interesting to see how they compare up and mesh pretty well and see what the chemistry looks like for both of these guys on both of the sides of the field. That should be interesting. Having Mooney Ward, Sauce Gardner, and Kenny Moore all on the field at the same time. Like I said, still having no DeForest Buckner is a huge miss in which we need to that interior defensive line. But like I said, when you have a DB room like this, that pretty much covers up some of those injuries. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys lock in this week and play against this team. Like I said, the ideal situation is to make sure you put pressure on Mahomes and force him not to make one of those Mahomes-like throws. So pressure definitely got to be there. We got to get home this week. And with this offensive line for the Chiefs, who hasn't been playing pretty great, pretty good at football, they haven't been playing pretty solid. That would be your identity for Lou Anarumo this week. Is trying to create pressure and force some blitzes on Patrick Mahomes to make him uncomfortable. So that should be the go-to list. So the guys I'm watching this week is definitely Sauce Gardner and Mooney Ward. Both of my guys are going to be the DBs for this week's player to watch for the defensive side for the Colts. Sauce Gardner and Mooney Ward will definitely be those two guys for the defensive side. As for the offense for the Colts, they're going up against a pretty mid-level defense for the Kansas City Chiefs. They can create a lot of turnovers as well if you give them the chance. Like I said, with the situation with the Colts being one of the best teams in the league, you got to look at this game like the Pittsburgh Steelers did, knowing what you got at stake. Playoffs is at risk. You got to go out there and win football, and you're going up against one of the best teams in the league. So what better way to put the league on notice than beating one of the best teams? When the Steelers played the Colts, they pretty much sent a lot of heat on the Colts and made Daniel Jones uncomfortable. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs have the same identity. Just watching the games in film. So Daniel Jones got to be ready. He got to be locked in. The offensive line got to have some better protection this week. Coming off the bye, the last time when they played the Steelers, the offensive line didn't look great blocking wise, and they left to some errors from the quarterback position. So they're gonna have to, block better this week. Hopefully, the bye week, these guys are fully composed and ready to go out there and play some good football. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Chiefs does against this Colts offense. The Colts offense is one of the best offenses in the league. So to get them back on track would be great. If we know anything, we know the Chiefs' run defense isn't as solid as it should be. Pretty much giving up almost 100 yards a game rushing, and having a guy like Jonathan Taylor in your backfield should be your identity. Giving the ball to Jonathan Taylor should be, your go-to plan. But I'm pretty sure they're going to have a game plan for Jonathan Taylor to try to lock him up and force Daniel Jones to beat them in the air. So it's going to be an interesting game. Like I said, thank goodness the Colts are at home this game, so they have the home field advantage. They've been pretty good at home all year as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this Colts team comes out to play this Chiefs game. It's going to be interesting. 1 o'clock Eastern. I wish it was a primetime game. Should be the game of the week, in my opinion. But this whole week of football is just good football. So hopefully the Colts can go out there and play some good football, man. And, just get this game, keep the streak going at home, play some solid football. Hopefully the defense can turn up and limit the turnovers on the offensive side. That should be on the to-do list for the offense. We mentioned the key players for the defensive sides being Mooney Ward and Sauce Gardner, in my opinion. Going for the offense, my key players will be Tyler Warren and Jonathan Taylor. Like I said, Jonathan Taylor leading the league in rushing. The Chiefs pretty much aren't really good at run defense, so you have to find ways to create lanes for Jonathan Taylor to go and pretty much run this game to the ground and winning it. Like I said, a good run game, but keep Daniel Jones poised and keep him from making mistakes. So we should see how this offense comes out. Tyler Warren, he should definitely be a go-to guy. Josh Downs should be another guy to be really looking forward to watching in this matchup against the Chiefs. So, like I said, this is going to be a good game. It's going to be a barn burner. I don't think it's going to be a dog walk. Like I said, this is a big game for both teams. The Chiefs looking to make a playoff push. The Colts still looking to maintain home field advantage. The division isn't fully locked up yet. So, like I said, both teams need to win this game. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams come out. But you guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section, how you feel about this game. the matchups, who do you have winning, and who are your key players for both sides of the field for the Colts or Chiefs. You let me know your thoughts in the comment section. We'll probably be live to watch this game on Sunday, so just tune into it on Sunday via Twitch, the X app, or YouTube, and follow us on thebluestable.com to check out our articles about the matchups as well. And then the post game, we'll drop an article there as well. But this is Marcus. Until next time, you enjoy the rest of your week. Safe travels if you're traveling. Stay safe and go Colts.